I guess we don't want to scare people because
Yeah.
we also just want to be realistic because grad school is a whole different beast. People talk about college being really difficult and it absolutely is, but grad school is a whole nother level.
Sometimes you just have to say, fuck it. I get 100% on this test. Or do I even want to get 100% on this test? I would have wine, my Whole Foods cookies, maybe some hot Cheetos.
Our school systems are very, very focused on the grade, and that is
Yeah,
it. When there's
right.
just so much more to learning, it's like, how do you apply the information that you were just, force fed?
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Physio Diaries podcast. We are your co-hosts, Dr. Melanie Ziaziris
and Dr. Alice Gozhabatsky, where students, healthcare professionals, and wellness junkies come to get the inside scoop of the healthcare and wellness industry.
The podcast you didn't know you needed by your favorite travel physical therapist.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Physio Diaries podcast. We have a lot of new listeners on here, so we just wanted to reintroduce ourselves real quick. We are both travel physical therapists that graduated in April of 2023. I'm Melanie, and this is Alice. And we went straight into being a travel physical therapist as a new grad, even though when people told us not to. So despite their advice, we went for it and have loved it and highly recommend to those who want to. Anyway, we have a lot of listeners that are either in high school, college, or even graduate school that tune in to our podcast. And today we wanted to talk about our experiences in grad school and how we barely made it through. Just kidding. We were okay. It wasn't that bad.
There was
In the end.
times where we
Yeah.
thought we wouldn't, but we did.
Yes. It ebbed and flowed like everything. But it was definitely a challenge. And so we know that if you're listening to this, you're probably feeling a little challenged as well in school. We just wanted to do an episode about surviving grad school. Before we get into that, though, I just want to say that we appreciate all of you guys for tuning in and listening to our podcast, but we have a little bit of a discrepancy. So we have 3-digit followers and streams, but only 2-digit ratings. So we would really appreciate it if you guys rated us either after listening to this episode or even after listening to this part, because for podcasts, the ratings and the downloads is what really, really helps us out and helps us grow. So please do us a favor and rate us because we truly appreciate it. Let's get into surviving grad school.
Yes, this is a topic I feel like since we're so fresh out of school still, like I still feel like it was yesterday. Like a lot of the stuff in grad school I blocked out, but I also still have a lot of memories from it.
Totally.
And I think that we are like great people to speak on this because it is still relatively fresh in our brains. So it's good that we're getting this all out now. Because I know in 5 years I'd be like, what even was that time in my life?
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of, I guess, break down at different categories of like things that we get a lot of questions on, topics that just come up because grad school is a whole different beast. People talk about college being really difficult and it absolutely is, but grad school is a whole nother level. Like our first year, we were in school 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Which was insane. And then you just go home and you just study more.
Right. I've told this to people and they're like jaw drops, but we range between 18 and 24 credit hours per term, which like in undergrad, 12 is the minimum for being a full-time student. Okay.
Yeah. Like I remember in undergrad, I would get done with classes sometimes at like noon.
Yeah.
And you could like maneuver your classes around and have like some days where you have one class. Like, no, that is not the case in grad school. Like at least physical therapy. And I know a lot of other programs, you're in school all the damn time. It's like a full-time job and a half, I would always say, because just like being in class was full-time. And then like the other half is like all the studying you have to do. And that's kind of the first category that we wanted to talk about was the studying aspect of it, because, we got to talk about it. It's not fun. Studying sucks. But basically in grad school, you will absorb information like a sponge. I always remember like the beginning of the first term, or like we were trimesters, the first week I would have a headache the entire week because it's just like your brain is like a muscle.
So much information.
And it's doing so much. It's working overtime. And in grad school, like you won't even believe how much you can learn. I feel like I barely did anything in undergrad. Once I went to grad school, I was like,
That's
this was
fair. The contrast
nothing.
is very different.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally different. I feel like, at least personally for me, I really had to like zone in on my study habits. You have to learn what kind of studier you are. And I for sure am someone who needs to study the information on their own, take
Mm.
my own notes, and then I love to discuss with other people. And
Yeah.
I think everyone's different, but you just have to kind of find what your way of studying and absorbing information as quickly as possible is.
Mhm. No, I agree with that. I definitely think, especially with studying, like trial and error every single way of studying if you don't know your like most effective way of studying yet, right? Like we have auditory learners, visual learners, kinesthetic hands-on learners, group
Mhm.
versus self, or one to one, like two people studying versus like a group of 10. Every way of studying is very different and you process things very differently. So I think
Mhm.
the biggest thing is like learning what is your most effective way, and then like don't bullshit your time, right? Like once you know what your preferred method of studying is, stick with that because that's going to give you the best results and will be most effective.
Mhm.
um I definitely was a hands-on and visual learner. Like my notes
Yeah.
were color coded to the T. Red, purple, and
Yes.
black and blue all meant different things, and I knew what they were for. And
Mhm.
I literally could never, I genuinely don't understand how some people do this. I don't know if you did this or not, to be honest, but
What?
just reading something and being able to like remember it. Like I need to write it
Oh,
down and color code it in my own
no.
words, and then I will remember it.
Yeah, I feel like I've never been that way. I actually was diagnosed with ADD in PT school. This is like a whole another tangent, but honestly, no. Like if I would read something, I sometimes would have to read it 3 times to even like
Yeah.
absorb what I just read.
Right.
And that's another thing is like if you have any sort of, I guess like I don't know, learning disability or learning
Yeah.
difficulty,
Yeah.
I always felt like it would take me like 2, 3 times longer to grasp a concept than it
Mhm.
would somebody else. And
Mm.
like people never believed me when I said that. And they were like, I had straight A's in undergrad. I got a near perfect GPA. I got 1B in like a stupid online class
Oh,
that I
wow.
like totally forgot I was in, honestly. And that was probably the ADD. But I had to put in
True.
so many hours to study to like grasp a concept. And it was because I couldn't stay focused. Like my mind would be elsewhere. So I think that was a big thing for me, was like learning how I study best too because of that. If I had to study like I did in undergrad, the amount of time that it took me to understand a concept, I would never have finished in PT school.
Mhm.
So what helped me a lot was the iPad. In our program, at least, we were all required to get an iPad, and I thought that was ridiculous at first. I'm like, this is stupid. Like,
It was
that's
literally
another,
$1,000
it
for
was
this iPad.
$1,000, but they had
Crazy.
amazing I know, it's crazy. But honestly, like my sister who was in PT school at a different school was not required to get them and got one anyways because
Oh,
it is so great. I think it's a great way to stay very, very organized. Like I had notability. I have to be organized because that's the way my brain works, or else like it's just
yeah.
everything's going to go down the drain. So I had like special folders, like different things, that very, very organized, and you have to be. We were just talking about like personality types, like there's A, B, C, D. So I think most people are type A to some extent in PT school, in graduate school. You have
Mhm.
to be.
You've
There
literally,
were
like, you will
some,
not, if
yes,
you're disorganized, you are gonna get so far behind.
yes, and there were definitely some people that were type B, like you probably know,
Yeah.
certain
We know
people
who we're talking
also.
about.
And they really leaned on others to kind of help
Yeah.
them at least stay organized and stay on top of assignments, because it just like it is overwhelming. And if you don't have a planner, oh my goodness, like you can't keep it all up here. It's just not going to
No.
happen. So
No.
you need to write things down. You need to have a planner. You need some sort of organization method.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I actually did not really vibe with the iPads,
Mhm.
because
Oh yeah, you like your
I
paper.
yes, I am a old school handwriter, note taker, studier.
Mm,
I hate reading shit on screens. Like even with
yeah,
like I
your
would
eyes
love
get
to,
tired.
yeah, I don't even know what it is. I just
Yeah.
don't feel like I internalize it. Like for me, I feel like I've actually made this comment to my boyfriend because he does a lot of writing for like his work and stuff. And he has very neat writing. It's not the handwriting, it's the colors, I think, for me. When
Oh,
I'm reading something and all of the text is in paragraph formats and like
yeah.
all black, my brain can't like organize it. So even when on undergrad and PT school, every single thing that was like on the iPad or whatever, I had to rewrite it in my own way on paper.
So
And I had
that's
to do that for everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's exactly what I did, but it was on the iPad. So I would open up a
Yeah.
blank note and I
Yes.
had the pencil and I would literally write everything like in my own words on a study guide. And what I really liked about it is that you can highlight, you can color code really easily. You can find like any different color. And that's how I would do it. And the
Yeah.
nice thing was if you search something in your note, like let's say you have like a 10-page study guide and you type something in, it'll read your handwriting and it would find it for you. And now I
Mm.
still have all my study guides organized. And even like sometimes, honestly, I'll look back on it and be like, I remember writing this down and I have access to it on my computer, which I bring to work with me every day. So it is nice that I have everything like in a
Yeah.
place where I know I can find it quickly
Right.
because I don't know, I just lose papers really easily.
Yeah. No, that's valid. Even like, well, why do you feel like writing it on the iPad was more effective than writing it on paper? Was it mainly just because you
It's
could
the
like search
organization.
it and everything? And
Yes, and then also, like, with for me, I am a perfectionist at heart. So
yeah.
if I mess something up, I can't it would, like, drive me crazy looking at the paper, and I would probably rewrite it a million times versus, like, on Notability, you just circle what you wanna erase and, like,
That's
erase it,
fair. Yeah,
rewrite it.
that was
You could
annoying.
Yeah, you can circle it and then, like, make it smaller. You can organize it in different ways, and probably it's come a long way since, like, we had it too, but there's a
True.
lot of cool features on Notability that I really liked.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's
But
fair.
I'm sure they should do, like, a study where they would compare writing on a iPad versus, like,
Yeah.
paper. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I have heard of studies that's just I don't think they differentiated between like iPad or paper, but just writing anything down in
Would
general compared to
help.
just reading it does
Yeah.
help encode it and put it into your more long-term memory versus
Mhm.
short-term. So
I
I do
agree.
think just in general writing is always going to be better than just reading. Like I have a
Absolutely.
friend I won't say names, but I don't think she ever wrote shit down and she would just read the iPad. And I was like, how are you internalizing this? I don't
Yeah.
understand.
So the thing
But
is with writing is that it like rather than reading, because writing is reading it first, then making like a motor memory,
yeah,
writing it down, visualizing it too. So it like activates a lot more centers of your brain when you write something down. Even though
hmm
it takes you longer to write it down, you're more likely to remember it later
yeah,
on. And it's worth that extra time, I think. And we
yeah,
were all,
I
at
agree.
least I think most of our friend group like would do a lot of writing and like
Yeah,
study.
I agree. But
But
yeah,
to
I
each their
think
own, of course, you
right,
know?
just trial and
Yeah.
error, see what's most effective for you and stick with that because we don't have time to bullshit in grad school. We just need to go straight to what's the best route.
Yes, absolutely.
Ugh,
Okay. Next topic. Yeah, we wanted to talk about this because this is like a very real thing. Is kind
yeah,
of just friends, friend groups,
yeah,
like how
having
that
friends.
evolved. Yeah, having friends in PT school. So my first year that I started, Mel and I did not know each other because we were in different classes.
Yeah,
I
not for
was
real.
year
Very
ahead.
like more acquaintances first year and like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm saying when in my first year,
Oh,
I didn't
gotcha.
even know
Yes.
you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Fair.
Yeah, and so, I did have a close group of it was just, like, 4 friends, and they were great girls, honestly, but a lot of people at our campus, like, lived in the suburbs and would commute to the city where our school was,
Oh,
but I lived downtown. It just happened that all of my really close friends did not live downtown, and I think that was part of the thing is, like, I felt like they would just go to school, stay at school, and then try to rush home as quickly as possible to beat traffic, and they didn't always wanna, like, stay and study together, or, like, they weren't available on weekends, and I think that that was a big thing, was, like, I didn't feel like they were right there with me all the time. We were super close, though, and we would FaceTime or, like, Zoom and stuff, but it just it wasn't the same as having people close by all the time that you could like just call up and get together at a coffee shop and study together. Then of course COVID hit at my very end of my first year, and that was an absolute nightmare. And then we
Yeah.
all got separated,
Yeah.
and we were all just kind of going through it on our own and just struggling, and that was really hard. And then basically, yeah, I took my year off, joined Mel's class,
Yes.
and I like kind of joined your friend group, and it was nice because like it was really scary going into a new class not knowing anybody, especially when like your friend group had already been established. But thankfully, like I vibed really well, I feel like, with
Yeah,
your
you
class.
belonged in our grade, not the
I
other grade.
really did,
Yeah.
yeah. And that made a huge difference for, like, I think my overall, like, mental health in PT school
Yeah.
was just, like, having people that were similar to me, and we just were on the same wavelength, and we were close to each other in
Yeah,
proximity, so that was, like,
for
huge.
sure. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I remember even talking to you about that, like, in second year, because we
Yeah.
would literally be going out every single weekend, no matter
Oh
what,
my
like,
gosh.
either going
Yeah.
out or at someone's place or something. I remember you
Yeah.
said you really didn't have that, and I was like, "Wow," like, I
Yeah.
literally could not imagine not having this in grad school.
Yeah, and especially first years, like, it's so hard. It was really challenging because that's, like, our heavy didactic year. Yes, we would do things as a class sometimes, but it was just hard because of COVID. Like, people
Right.
couldn't really do that much, and people were still scared, and we couldn't have large gatherings, and so I think a combination of all of that made my first year, like, super, super, super tough, honestly.
Yeah.
And then second year was, like, a breath of fresh air. It's also, like, our easier year, I would say. Like, I worked through second year. I had way more free
Yeah.
time. Like, sometimes we'd be done at noon and we could just do whatever. We would go out on Thursday nights. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was way more
But
chill than first year.
yeah, I do think, like, no matter what grad school program you are in or planning to go
Yes.
into, it's also such a weird phase of life.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
right, no, if you are the person that went straight from undergrad, or if this is your second career again and you're going back to school after living your life and now you have a second life that you are aiming for. We had people with kids, so it's
Mhm.
really interesting to see too, like when you do go to grad, or for those that are in grad school or going to grad school, the different types of people you're also going to be around, because everyone will kind of be at different phases of life. And I
Yeah.
think that's also important to remember too, because you might be approaching something with the wrong mindset. If someone has kids, like, you can't be mad at them for not coming to things and joining you to do stuff, like, they have a whole
Yeah.
other life. So it's also just, like, knowing what communities and friendships you want to be in. Are you more of the type of person that loves to be with your friends all the time, study together, do things together outside of school? Or do you like to be a little more reserved and only kind of reach out when you have questions and, like, maybe
Mhm.
go out and here or there, but, like, there's different ways to have friendships as well.
Yeah, I think for me, it was huge. Like having a good close friend group
Yeah.
made my experience so much better. You will find your people too, even if it's
Yeah.
just one person. Like, I think having a close, at least one friend makes a huge difference. And the beauty of our program was that it was like on the larger side. So there was like at least one person that you're definitely going to mesh well
Yes,
with.
definitely.
People are so like-minded. A lot of the
Yeah.
people that go into physical therapy are very like-minded. We have a lot of like similar hobbies, interests, we like to be outside, like we like to go to the beach. So it's just like people are always willing to do stuff and they're
Yeah.
like-minded. So it don't worry about making friends if that's what you're concerned about because you already know you have something in something in common, which is like the career choice that you ended up choosing for yourself.
Yeah.
So I
No, that's
think that
fair.
that's not something I would worry about, but it does really like make a difference having people that
Yeah.
you really are genuinely friends with. Like I'm happy that cuz I know a lot of people in our class and even my old class, I've noticed that they kind of drift away a lot from the
Yeah.
people that they were friends with in PT
Close with.
school, but it's
Mhm.
just like
Yep.
almost like was it just convenient to have them at the time to be
Yeah.
studying together? But I feel like we
Right.
truly developed like friendships and connections that hopefully will last a
Yeah.
lifetime.
No, that's a good point too, though. Like, being friends out of convenience is so fucking real. Even for undergrad,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
some people I would talk to all the time in my class, but then we wouldn't hang out outside of class, and then you drift away, and that just kind of naturally happens. Like,
Mhm.
it just life just happens that way. But I did
Yeah.
want to say, for those that, like, I myself really crave friend groups and love having friend groups. And I don't like not having friend groups. So I'm sure there's other people that relate to that. And if you feel like your program or school is very small and it doesn't really, you don't get the vibe from others that you want, like go outside of school and make friends.
Yeah.
There's so many other ways to make friends outside of school. And honestly, those friendships might last longer because it's not just out of convenience, right? Like you have to make your way to find them. Like one of my roommates during PT school, CrossFit was her thing. CrossFit was her everything. Every morning before class, she'd wake
Oh
up, go to
yeah.
CrossFit, see her CrossFit friends. They were like her closest friends. They would do stuff together all the time on the weekends and whatnot. So, like, don't think that the people in your class and the people out
That's a
of
good
convenience
point.
have to be your closest people.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because also sometimes this is another thing is like living with your classmates.
Yeah.
I did not live with my classmates. I feel like through most of PT school, at least
Yeah.
like the school part of it.
Yeah.
And for me, I actually really liked it because sometimes it was nice to just come home to my sister
Yeah.
and like not be able to like just stop thinking about school for a second.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's also nice to live with, like, we lived together when
Yeah.
we were not in school anymore. Like, we were doing our clinical rotations. So I feel like it's a little different. But
Yeah.
to me, that helped a little bit to like
Totally.
give myself a bit of a break. So it wasn't always like PT school, like friends from PT
Yeah.
school, you know?
Mhm.
Both of us also have friends in Chicago that are like non PT, like from high school, middle school, and college, even.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
kind of,
We definitely, yeah, I just, when you said that, I just realized like,
oh,
yeah, you
yeah.
had your own friends too in Chicago. I had my own friends too in Chicago, and we would just merge.
Oh, yeah, and that's what happens too is, like, when you're in school, like, it's so weird because you're like, "I have such little time to hang out individually with everybody," and
Yeah, it's so
I
hard.
yeah, and, you know, I love, like, throwing parties and, like,
I
oh,
know, we
that's my
love
favorite
toast.
thing. Yeah, I love hosting, I love, like, making little appetizers and just making sure everyone's having fun, but the thing is, like, you do not have time to hang out with just these friends, so you just bring everybody together, like, I would bring, like, high school, college, PT school friends all together at my
Literally.
apartment. And it's
Yeah,
like so much fun when your friends become friends. And I just love
yeah.
that. I think like having solid friends or just like somebody that will support you during this, like honestly, really testing time in your life
Mhm.
is very beneficial. Yeah.
Definitely. I agree with all of that. Routines, no matter what phase of life you are in. I mean, in
Yeah.
undergrad, I feel like it's really easy to get away with like not really having a routine and just kind of
Yeah.
doing whatever and surviving. But when it comes to grad school and you're actually trying to like adult and be a real human and get the life or like set up the life you want, like you need
Yeah.
routines and always morning routines, night routines. What are your workout routines? What are your hobbies? What are your school routines and study routines? You can make literally anything a routine if you want to.
Mhm.
For me, I think the biggest, well, okay, let me think. In grad school, I trialed and errored different workout routines. I tried to be a morning person with one of my roommates, and we were successful for maybe a couple weeks, if that, and then we couldn't do it anymore. And I am just not a morning person. I've tried it multiple times, and I can't do it.
You're not
So then
gonna
I just,
change.
no, I've literally been trying to become a morning person for years, and I've just accepted that it's not for
Yeah. I was gonna say there's no point in fighting it
there's
anymore.
no point anymore, and no. I've accepted it, and now I'm creating a routine that I'm actually gonna stick with.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, my workout routines were definitely in the evening or if we were virtual midday. But that was only the virtual only lasted a little bit. So I was always a evening workout person. And like Sundays was always my kind of reset days. I think I usually taught a yoga class on Sunday and then I would do like the meal prep, juice prep, whatever. I did work a little bit in PT school too. I did not work first year, but I worked second year and third year. I taught yoga at two places, two different gyms. I also had another little side job
Mhm.
assisting someone with a
Yeah.
neuromuscular condition.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's a
yeah,
one thing that comes up a lot because grad school is expensive, as we've said
yeah,
time and time again. And a lot of people like work through college, work multiple jobs through college. The thing is like you have to take out more loans going into grad school. And people
mhm,
always ask me, like, did you work through PT school? I personally, like you said too, I did not work through first year. It's a huge
Yeah.
adjustment.
That's too
I'm not
hard.
saying you can't, like definitely there was people that did, but it was very
Uh-huh.
on and off. Like maybe they would work a couple hours on a weekend, but like definitely not during the week. You just don't have the time. And you also don't want to burn out. I
Yeah.
personally would have burnt out if I didn't have time like to work first year. But second year and during my year off, I worked as a tech at a like local like physical therapy chain. And for me, it was actually really, really nice to be working as a tech while also going to school. Cause I think that a lot of times you get caught up in like the school part of it and like you kind of forget
Mhm.
why you got into it in the first place.
Yeah.
And it would be really nice to me to like go into the clinic and actually like be more hands-on with patients because I was like working with patients as a tech there. And it was just a breath of fresh air when I finally got to like actually understand the knowledge behind the reason that the therapist was like selecting certain interventions. I really liked working. And then it's like, you're not making that much money, but it's something. And it makes you feel
Little
good
sad
that like
money.
a little fun like play money, it'll cover the drinks for that weekend or whatever you choose to do with your free time. We did that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, routines are crucial. You have to kind of keep tabs on yourself because you want to make
Mhm.
sure that you're doing okay because like we said, it's a hard time. And for me, once when I made the decision to like take my year off, I wasn't sleeping. And that's like important for me. I to be
Mhm.
a fully functioning human being, I need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I
Yeah.
wasn't sleeping and I wasn't working out anymore. I just stopped. I literally felt
Uh,
like I couldn't. I don't know why. I just like was so overwhelmed with everything. Like, being
mhm.
in school during the pandemic and navigating all of that, it was really challenging. And once I saw all of my routines go down the drain was when I was like, I can't do this right now. You don't want to get to that point, where I was, but it was also like the pandemic. Actually, another person in my class did the same thing. And a lot of people messaged me and were like, oh my gosh, I kind of thought about like also taking a year off. It was like hell on earth. It was a tough time. And so you don't want to get to that point. So that's why I think it's important to like keep a good routine and keep yourself in check and check in on your friends because you don't want to get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm burnt out and I like can't keep doing PT school anymore or grad school. So that's like another thing is like for me was once I saw my routines go out the window, I was like, okay, this is not
Yeah.
good.
No, that's valid. Looking back now, I'm like, damn, I really should have had better routines for myself because that definitely
Yeah.
affected
That's
my
hard.
transition into work life because I feel like when I started work, I kind of had to start from zero. And
Mhm.
if I feel like if I had better routines in grad school, I would have just continued that into like working.
Yeah, but
You know
I
what I
also
mean?
think it's very easy to look back on it and be like, I could have
Yeah.
done better
Yeah.
because low
That's true.
key, I felt like I was in fight or flight in PT
Yeah,
school for
for
like
sure.
a solid 2 years and you're just trying to survive. But yeah, I agree. I think my routines probably could have been a little better, but at the same time, you're just trying to stay afloat
Yeah.
and like, yeah, pretty much stay alive and make it through.
Literally,
But we also
literally.
don't want to, I guess we don't want to scare people because
Yeah.
we also just want to be realistic.
Yeah.
Like it was also a great time in our lives. And I sometimes find myself missing it, like missing the
True.
learning, missing like the close proximity to your friends. Like we were all
Yeah, I do miss
in an
that.
amazing city all together. Like it was a great
Mhm.
time. I sometimes do miss it. Like,
Yeah. Did
yeah.
you have any, like, weekly rituals you did for yourself in school? At least 1st or 2nd year?
I don't know. I usually would work out, but it was very inconsistent. Like I didn't
Yeah.
do any. I'm trying to think. Our first year, actually, we would go to after like a big exam or something. We would go to like Timothy
Oh,
O'Toole's.
yeah, Timmy
I
O'Toole's.
wouldn't say it's
That
like a
was
ritual, but it was just like a
yeah, I mean,
celebration.
yeah, for sure, that,
Yeah.
like, was kinda
Yes.
consistent. Yeah,
And
we
that was
did a
like
lotta Timmy's happy hours.
yes, we did a lot of like Kimmy's. We would go to Howl at the Moon and like it's a dueling piano bar. And so they used to have like this really good deal. It was like super close to school. And
Yeah.
so literally it was great. Like more than half of our class would show up. Before COVID, they used to actually have like really good drink deals where they'd be like 50% off and then also have free food, which like if you're in grad school and you hear free at any time,
Yeah,
you will be there. You will absolutely be there. And so we would go
definitely.
there a lot. It was funny. I remember like one of my classmates, he didn't have pants that, because they are actually strict about the dress code randomly there. But he was wearing either like jeans or something. And then one of my classmates, she had an extra pair of pants for some reason. And to get into like the bar, he ended up putting her pants that she had brought with
I
her.
don't know if I've heard this story. That's so
Yeah, no, it
funny.
was just like hilarious. And we're like, we don't even care. Like, we're at the point where like no one gives a shit. Like, we just want to go out and celebrate. I would say our thing was just all going
That's fair.
together out and just like grabbing a drink, hanging out.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely a lot of routines center around alcohol.
In grad school, yes.
Yeah, I have this distinct memory. I would do this. This was like my self-care time, first year. So during COVID, heights of COVID, everything in Chicago was like closed. Every weekend, I don't know if I did this on probably Sundays. I would have wine, my Whole Foods cookies, maybe some
Oh.
hot Cheetos.
Wait, Mel, you put me on. Those are the best cookies ever. They're like
The
the
best.
dough. Yes.
The Whole Foods, yeah, frozen cookies are the best chocolate chip cookies.
They're so
Those were my like self-care time in PT school. And that
yeah.
combination of wine, cookies, and hot Cheetos, and I would watch whatever show or movie or whatever, and I would just like decompress. And I just like unlocked that memory as you were talking about this.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, you definitely need to treat yourself. And I think we all did a good amount of that in PT school because it's like
Yes.
you need to enjoy life still. Like,
Yeah. And like
drink
don't
the
feel
wine, have the
guilty,
cookies.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, shit happens.
absolutely.
We got to get through things. If it's
Yeah,
temporary, it's temporary.
right. And nothing is the end of the world in grad
Yeah.
school. Like, it may feel like it is in the moment, but
Yeah.
nothing is the end of the world in grad
Yeah.
school. Like, it'll be fine. Even though it probably feels like it's not going to be in the moment.
Yeah.
A big part of your, I guess, like personality or just who you are is a
Mhm.
graduate student because that's like where a lot of your time goes. It's really honestly hard first year to have a life outside of school. It's important to try and stay in touch, like we said, with like other friends, like family, and just maintaining a life outside of that. Because if all you're focusing on is school and you're just like really, really centered on your grades, that's just kind of a recipe for burnout. So you have to have hobbies. Like a lot of us, and that's the thing, like we were all very active. When it was nice outside in the summertime, like we would play spike ball, like we would go and have like a beach day because we were in Chicago. Like, how can you not
Yeah.
enjoy the city?
Yeah.
Like you're still,
True.
a lot of people, Chicago's a new city for them. And so they're still in a new place. Like you want to explore, you want to make friends. Maybe like a lot of people were dating at the time. So you you have a life outside of PT school or graduate school. You went to so many different bars and like
Yeah.
different clubs in PT school.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just important just to have a life outside of school because I personally think my first year I like barely did. Like I went out a couple
Yeah.
times, but my second year, I think I just like told myself, you know what? Like my first year I worked my butt off and like what did it do for me, you know? And my second year I had so much fun.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like we were just
Second
like
year was
having a good
fun.
time. It was fun. Yeah, like we did so much and then we started our clinical. So it was just like it was a much better experience for me once I told myself, you know what? Like I should have a life outside of school. Grades don't matter that much. I just need a pass at the end of the day.
It's so easy to get caught up into school being your life. Like there's always something that you could do. Like you can always make an argument like, "Oh, you have this
Yeah.
to do for school." But
Yeah.
you have to like pause and be like, "But wait, I did a lot of this already today and this week and this weekend. Like let me do something for myself."
Yeah. And that
Um
actually reminded me that you said,
yeah.
the school we went to was a very, very highly ranked school in the country. And I think just in general, any grad school that you go to, you're surrounded by high achievers. Even for myself, I know I always put myself like, you know, not on a pedestal, but I guess I really have high expectations for
Yeah.
myself. We all
No, that's
do.
fair to
And that's
say.
why we got to where we got. But at the same
Mhm.
time, being surrounded by people that are also very high achievers can be a lot.
Mhm.
And you also have to just like realize you can't be smarter than everybody else. You can't be better. Don't compare yourself to anyone because that can be very draining and like have a negative effect on your self confidence too. So that was a
Yeah.
little hard for me, I feel like, once I came to Northwestern, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, am I smart enough to be here, you know? But
No, that's a very valid
that's
point. I
another
definitely
thing.
didn't
Yeah.
think about that. But like being
Hmm.
surrounded by a lot of high achievers can either cause you to be like, I need to be better than them, or like, fuck it, I'm my own person. And you
Yeah.
can go either
Yeah.
way.
And you're like, I'm not
Yeah.
studying enough. Like, why are they still studying right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there were so many people like that. I feel like
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say I got judged, but like I sometimes felt like others were judging for like the things I was doing outside of school because like I was doing a lot of things outside of school that was not school related. But
Hmm.
I don't know, that could also just be my own perception of it, but
Hmm.
don't get caught up onto
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely do things outside of school. I'm trying to think of what I did outside of school. Oh yeah, we talked about like going out, which I guess you could say could be a hobby. Yoga was a big part of my life before, and so I did a lot with that. Like I started to do more yoga events, and like I did a
Hmm.
face yoga event at Nordstrom's with Paula's Choice. Like I did a lot of random cool shit, and I could have been the person that said no, I have to study, but I
Hmm.
said no, fuck it, I want to do things outside of school. And it
Yes.
was so cool and fun. And sometimes you just have to say fuck it. Like I can't do, I am not going to get
Yeah.
100% on this test, or do I even want to get 100% on this test, right? Like,
Right.
do you even care that much?
I feel like also it's important because that gives your brain a break, you
Yeah.
know? Like you need to rest, and resting doesn't have to be laying on the couch. Resting for people looks different. You know, we are
Yeah,
both, I
true.
think, very extroverted people. So like
Yeah.
you wanted to do something else. Like you wanted to go out and do
Yeah.
an event or like go to a yoga class or teach a yoga class. Like that's still resting.
Yeah.
Just as long as you're doing something outside of school, something different that doesn't
Mhm.
involve physical therapy or whatever your, profession is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like, oh, you're just like staying in and chilling, you know?
Yeah, I think the biggest part to get over is the guilt behind it. Like
Yeah,
there's
that's huge.
so much guilt, like, oh, I could be
Yeah.
studying, but like you also have a life to live.
Yes,
So we're telling you
exactly.
that you don't need to be guilty.
No, no. And I guess we also touched on grades now too, but
Yeah.
especially first year, I feel like they like are like, you need to know this material and you need to know the
Mhm.
content. If you don't learn it now, like
Yeah, or
it's
just
really
any
gonna,
grad school program.
yeah, any grad school program,
Yeah.
it's gonna bite you later on.
Yeah.
And so there's people putting pressure on you, like there's yourself putting pressure on you to get good grades. I think just in general, our school systems are very, very focused on the grade and that is
Yeah.
it. When there's
Right.
just so much more to learning, it's like, how do you apply the information that you were just,
Mhm.
force fed? There's people that probably got a perfect GPA in PT school, but that does not always translate to what kind of clinician they are. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's ones that really know their stuff and are amazing clinicians, but there's also people that maybe barely passed boards or took multiple attempts to pass boards,
Right.
and they're such good, like, practitioners.
Yeah.
So we always say for the people that are in it and in the trenches, it's not the end of the world. Like I definitely got C's on exams in PT school. And guess what? I'm still here to tell the story.
For
And
sure.
yeah, it's just don't put that pressure on yourself. I definitely did my first year and it caused me to burn out. Like I said, I got a perfect GPA my first year and it made me need to take a year off. Well, many things, like I said, but that was definitely part of it was like, I'm
Yeah.
used to being a very high achiever and I was surrounded by high achievers. And I thought that if I didn't get a good grade, that meant that I shouldn't have been there. And that's like very far from the truth. So then second year, I literally just told myself, I was like, the amount of difference of work and hours and stress I have to put in to get an A versus a B is astronomical in
Yeah.
my MSK courses. I just told myself, you know what? Strive for the B. And if you get an A, great, you got an A. And I ended up
Mhm.
getting a B and it was fine. It was totally fine. And
Yeah.
honestly, like I enjoyed myself so much more. So once that
Totally.
pressure is gone, it's like a whole new world out there.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I definitely like blacked out PT school. I definitely care about my grades a lot first year because I was like, I need to start really good so I had more room to like
Yes,
sway.
exactly.
I think that's a good mindset to have. Like, you want to start off really strong. As the terms went on, the caring got less and less and less. And I'm like, what are the essentials here? And I think for anyone listening that like, if you're not even in healthcare or want to be in healthcare, like this even applies to like business schools, right? Like, we want to take the most important information and be able to translate it into real life experiences and real life situations. And if you can't do that, then an A versus a D makes no difference if you can't put that into the real world. So I think that's the biggest thing is like, can you actually take this information, use it, or are you just studying it for the test and it's going to be out your memory the next week? And if it's going to be out your memory, then why try so hard?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I feel
but
like
yeah.
also I was gonna say a lot of what they look at basically to get into graduate schools is GPA. So
Yeah.
you are like conditioned to be like, okay, I have to get a really really high GPA because that was important for you to get into grad school. So like you're kind of used to that. So it's kind of hard to like get yourself out of that mindset too a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like what is your goal? It's to be a good professional one day.
Mhm.
And yes, that knowledge is a good backbone, but that's also knowledge that you can always look up later on. Like, let's say you didn't get 100% or you didn't get an A on some exam or some concept, you can always learn it later on down the line. It's not going to make you a worse clinician, a worse employee because you failed or did poorly on that exam, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And like, we're not saying fail, but like, don't fail
stay in
your
your program.
classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't fail classes.
Yes.
D's and F's are still, but
Yeah.
if you do fail an exam here and there, it's not the end of the world. I have failed an exam before. I don't think I've ever had to retake an exam, but I have definitely failed before. And I was
Yes.
like, you
Yeah.
know what? I knew I was not, performing at my best. I did not study at my best. So I got what it got and I tried.
Yes, you did your best at the time, like, when you could. So,
Yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
I think those are all great takeaways for
Mhm.
anyone going to grad school or currently in grad school. And just like a good reminder for other people to tell you things sometimes. When I was in school, I'd be like, don't feel guilty. Like, it's okay. But like, also hearing it from others kind of helps.
It does, yeah, and I think, like, you also don't realize because you even though you're still, close with your friends and everyone, at the end of the day, sometimes we didn't talk about, like, our struggles openly, I feel like.
Yeah, fair.
Versus now we're really comfortable with it, but in the moment, you sometimes don't even realize that you're struggling.
Yeah.
And so I think at least for me as a student, it would have been really nice to hear people's experiences because
Mhm.
I would just be like, "Oh, okay, this is normal," and, like, how I'm feeling, that's totally fine, and kinda learning how to navigate it a little better. Something that I really liked, actually, was that we were paired with, like, a 1st and 2nd year buddy, and it's, like, it's important to have, like, mentorship or someone that's, like, above you in the next class because they know exactly how to help you if you're struggling or, like, give you advice because they just went through it, and that's kinda what we wanted to do for you guys today. And then also if, we always answer our questions on the Google form or even on social media. If you guys want to DM us, if it's like, you want to be anonymous, that's totally fine. Cause we would love to answer your guys' questions or even not even on the podcast, just respond back to you because we
Yeah.
want to be like a resource for you guys because we know that graduate school is a tough time and it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, go
Well,
through it mentally.
Well, that kind of wraps things up pretty
Yes.
well. This was a topic that a lot of you guys, like we said, are very curious about. Either you guys are in high school, college, even in the trenches of graduate school. So we hope that this was kind of beneficial to you guys. You're kind of able to like empathize with us, hopefully. and just shed light onto this like experience that you're going through or will go through. If you guys have any questions or need some words of wisdom, hit us up. We will be available. Maybe we'll not respond right away, but as soon as we can get to it, we get a lot of comments now, which is good. Feel free to leave it on our Google form as well. As always, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Make sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple and YouTube, all the platforms, to get notified of when a new episode drops or any other exciting information. That is all for today, folks. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.